to also talk about how we can kind of harness the power of the free market in clinical research to speed up progress as well. There's a couple billion people that are suffering from inflammation-mediated diseases like depression and arthritis and fibromyalgia and multiple sclerosis. And these are kind of great surrogates, I believe, for lifespan because it's very low-hanging fruit in terms of obtaining high-frequency longitudinal data that is variable in severity, which is necessary for inputs into a black box model of a human. So yeah, what all these kind of diseases have in common also is that they're influenced by hundreds of factors in daily life. There's a ton of amazing work going into the generation of new interventions, but that's currently very expensive given the regulatory system. So we feel like it's kind of lower hanging fruit to try to address maybe some of the 7,000 chemicals that comprise the 3.5 pounds of food we consume every day through our diet, as well as using a system to accelerate the discovery of the effects of the 166 billion potential drug candidates, which are more than there are stars in the universe. And currently we'll kind of never know the true effects and get them approved unless we find kind of a better way to incentivize and accelerate the pace of research. So over the last 10 years, we've had a 50x growth in the amount of health data and massive innovation in digital health. But unfortunately, that hasn't led to any measurable improvements in US lifespan, which has been flat over this time, or the per capita cost of healthcare and addressing the burden of chronic diseases. So the reason for this can kind of be explained by considering the seemingly simple pencil, which you can get for about 10 cents, despite the fact that it takes the coordinated effort of thousands of people to make one of these. Someone has to cut down the rubber tree for the eraser to cut down that tree. Someone had to make the saw to make the saw. Someone had to forge the steel to make the steel. Someone had to mine the iron ore, and so on. But a decentralized free market coordinated all of these disparate thousands of people all over the world to produce this for such a low cost. And it is this free market that has led to the explosion in human progress over the last century. You can clearly see the power of decentralization by comparing the GDP of North Korea, which has been flat over this period, to South Korea, which has been increasing exponentially. And our current health innovation ecosystem is actually equivalent to about 350,000 little North Koreas, where they are completely isolated and the data is siloed, leading to thousands of kind of dashboards of descriptive statistics telling us what we have done, but not what we should do to alleviate or prevent the development of chronic and aging-related diseases. So our approach is to take the data generated by the 7 billion natural experiments that are occurring every day, and then combining the data from these silos with formal clinical research, medical and insurance records, diet and supplement and medication data from receipts and apps to create a digital twin or a black box model of every human, which is basically what humanity is doing as well. And we would love to help them accelerate their progress as much as we can. Because using this high frequency longitudinal time series data and recurrent neural networks and multivariate relationship analysis, we can eventually provide people with real-time decision support and optimal daily values, telling them the most important thing that they can do at any given time to minimize symptom severity if they're suffering currently from a chronic disease, or prevent the onset of disease. And so there are kind of another number of ways that we're overcoming the challenges associated with utilizing real world evidence to infer causal relationships. And one is by applying the Hill's 6 criteria for causality. The first one is kind of temporality, which involves applying pharmacokinetic modeling to account for onset delays and durations of action. So in my case, I suffered from a lot of different conditions such as arthritis and psoriasis and depression and anxiety and a number of other conditions, which were all being treated as separate conditions and by a bunch of different specialists. And after kind of collecting months or years of data and then combining it and aggregating it and applying various rules for causality, I was able to identify factors in my diet, such as gluten intake and lectin intake, which typically increased my symptom severity. About 2 days after consumption, I had to abstain for about 10 to 14 days before before the symptoms kind of dissipated. So that's why I and probably millions and maybe billions of other people are kind of unable now to identify the effects of different factors on their symptom severity, because the human brain evolved to live in a world without data on African savanna millions of years ago, and can hold 7 numbers in working memory at a time, so it's not really able to do this. Then there's also the ability to have an individual serve as their own control group by engaging in repeated A/B experiments, where you remove a potential factor from your diet or lifestyle for about a month, and then apply it again for another month, and then repeat this process, simulating a kind of larger cohort size than a traditional like N=1 study, as well as combining this with existing research to identify coherence and determining if there is a plausible mechanism of action. Currently, algorithms can't do this very well, so we're crowdsourcing this by allowing individuals to up or down vote on the likely causal relationship between any given factor and an outcome. We're also looking at consistency among different participants, and then biological gradients, basically saying if larger doses correspond to larger effect sizes. So currently we've collected about 12 million data points from about 10,000 study participants that have shared their data through our initial demo app, and use that to generate about 90,000 studies from about 75 different data sources. And that has given us thousands of these outcome labels, which show the typical change from baseline after various different interventions and exposure to dietary factors, which are more useful than traditional nutrition facts labels in helping individuals make healthy decisions, as the amount of riboflavin or folate in something is not so useful to the individual. But even though we have our data is very broad in that we have many, like thousands of these outcome labels and studies, but any given intervention, such as a study on a particular folate supplement and inflammatory pain as an outcome, may only have a few participants. So a decentralized autonomous organization can help us overcome the prisoner's dilemma that is keeping all this massive amounts, 50 exabytes of data in these silos, by providing a shared ownership and governance over a central platform, providing trust and personalized incentives for individuals to share their data. And autonomy is critical to ensure that we do have a free market and have a lot of natural experiments with different approaches, and organization is required to define governance and value exchange, achieving the trustless environment that's required. So we're currently utilizing a new economic system, which I think could be called collaborationism, which transcends the previous failures of economic systems such as communism, which does not provide adequate incentives, and capitalism, which has produced $157 billion wasted in duplication of effort on recreating the same fundamental health infrastructure over and over again by hundreds of thousands of developers. So it involves allowing any of the 350,000 apps, if they participate in the platform, to access data shared by their users from any of the other 350,000 apps, a free market for monetizing individuals, enabling individuals to monetize their data. Currently, Cerner and a lot of electronic health record systems are making about $60 billion a year selling anonymized electronic health records, which aren't incredibly valuable in determining causality due to the low frequency. And then there's like the telephone game, whereby the individual has to go in every 3 months, and then they report what they can based on their very limited memory over the previous months. And then there's the filter of the doctor having to accurately write down what they said. So if we are able to aggregate these high frequency biomarkers from a lot of digital tools, that will be far more valuable than the current data that is being sold. And then facilitating ongoing royalties for contributions of data and software innovations to the core open source platform to incentivize open source development in the core, and then providing people with a plugin marketplace, allowing them to monetize machine learning models or clinical trial matching algorithms or health dashboards, or creating their own data marketplaces or studies in whatever manner they see fit. And similar to the WordPress model, which was initially a blogging platform, which was open source, but it had a great plugin framework that allowed any developer to build on top of it. And then that has led to a 59,000 plugin ecosystem, which is currently generating over $600 billion a year in revenue. So CureDAO focuses on the core, just a very core open source component that is universally useful, which involves data aggregation and kind of data transformation from its existing formats into any kind of formats that would be useful without having to modify existing legacy code. So that is basically what we're working on. And there are a huge number there's basically a Cambrian explosion of DeSci DAOs and innovation. And we're working on avoiding the same problem that we saw with these Web 2 digital health innovations by collaborating and engaging in shared ownership and value exchange between all of these great DAOs that have arisen. So yeah, that is generally the overview. And if you have any questions, that would be great.